Hello, friend. As you probably know, this is Daniel Danovi. And maybe you didn't know. Maybe you didn't know that this is the face that goes with the voice. If you weren't aware of that, now you are. You are probably aware of, though, that I've been busily working on my case studies for my subpersonality book, the book that I want to have out, kick off, published by October. Uh, we'll cross our fingers on that, but I'll be busy at work. And I have been busy at work working with about almost a dozen of you. Let's say 10, because a 10 is accurate. 10 of you have raised your hand, stepped up to the plate, and said, I would like to work with you with my subpersonalities. And so I've had a lot of fun investigating different methods, different opportunities. And I mean, you would just experience me working with you. I get to try different things out. I get to experiment a little bit on different approaches, different avenues. If one way doesn't work, I quickly shift gears and we try something else. And so I've been having a lot of fun. I've actually learned a lot. I think added to the body of work on the different techniques. And so I'm actually almost complete with many of you that have first put up your hands. And so I want to extend an invitation to you if you haven't yet been involved with the case studies. I'm ready to work with a couple more people, ideally up to 5 people. But it just occurred to me that some of you may not be up to speed with the current episodes. Maybe you just began listening to the podcast and you're only up to episode 30 or 75 or maybe 135, and you haven't yet made it up to episode 219 or 245, where I began talking about subpersonalities. So what is a subpersonality? Well, first of all, everyone has them. As a human being, you aren't bestowed magically with the complete whole self-concept, self-identity. It's pieced together in a hodgepodge, haphazard fashion, with the best of intentions. But as we encounter different experiences, different traumas, different challenges, we have aspects of ourself that splinter off because they couldn't handle what was going on, or splintered off or brought into being because we needed an aspect to handle a new level of responsibility. And so we have all these different parts, all these different subpersonalities within us. And some of us have done a good job of integrating them into the whole. I didn't do that very well. I had to go through the process of doing that myself. And so how that occurred to me was I had self-sabotage and I would procrastinate on some intentions. Part of me wanted to do this and part of me wanted to do that. So I had inner conflict. And then I had a predictable way to handle stress. You see, what we have a subpersonality that develops, they have a specific strategy, a specific agenda. Basically, it's like a hammer, one size fits all. They only have one tool to handle what's going on. And so there is a predictable response in anger, in a challenge. Some people feel defeated right out. As soon as they think about possibility, oh, I can't do that. That's a subpersonality. So these subpersonalities are created at the trance level and they live within us. And so the goal is to actually work with me or work, you don't have the book yet. So I want to work with you one-on-one to identify, investigate, where are your subpersonalities? What's their intentions? What's their motivations? Can we offer up some new opportunities, some new strategies to accomplish the same thing? All our subpersonalities are benevolent in nature. They want the best for us. It's just that the methods that they adopted many times at a much younger age. And so if you had an 8-year-old adopt a strategy for you, that strategy is still working at age 25, at age 60. It needs to be updated. It needs to be integrated back into the whole. And so if you think you're a candidate, because I still want to work with a few of you, if you think you're a candidate, raise your hand, contact me. Send me an email at support@daneuville.com. That's DNEUVILLE. Support@daneuville.com, and say, this is why I think I'm a candidate for the case study. I would like to investigate working with you. There is an investment, but it's much less than what I normally charge. And if you're a member of the vault, there's a little bit more taken off. I've had, I think, 4 of you that are currently members of the vault that have raised your hand and taken part in the case studies. So whether or not this is for you, I don't know. We can find out in a conversation. We'll schedule a Zoom call and we can talk one-on-one. I have yet to find a single person that could not avail themselves or benefit from taking part in integrating their subpersonalities. And so, if you'd like to hear from some of the people that have gone through the process with me so far, there's a few clips right after this message that, in their own words, they'll tell you what it's like. And without further delay, I'll let them tell you their point of view. Thank you. Do you have any questions for me?
No, I think that we did a lot of work today. I think that it's amazing how much you have helped me. I just like, wow.
So, is this call did it go the way you thought it would go?
Honestly, I feel like it went better than I thought it would because I just thought it was going to be like you having some explanation for me, but that reconnecting with my younger self was just an aspect that I really never thought much about, and it makes me feel more at ease as of right now because it's like there are certain things I wanted to hear and wanted to like reassure myself of, but since I never acknowledged that experience or that memory, I never actually sat with those emotions of it. I feel it's like a weight has been lifted off my shoulder, honestly, as of right now. That's how I feel. I feel more light.
So tell me, how has this
Mhm.
process been for you?
Oh my gosh, it's been so enlightening. It's been more enlightening and in like, what's the word? I've gained so many insights about myself and about how or who's driving the bus, so to speak. That's a term I like to use. Who's driving the bus in certain situations and how that contributes to patterns in my life and ways that I respond in situations, but also how that limits me or was limiting me in terms of what was available for feelings or experiences, like how it would kind of determine in a box like way, it would limit me to how I would have an experience. Like I wasn't able to access certain feelings or certain parts of myself because I was responding in a way that had been programmed, like from different parts of my life, different ages, so to speak.
What I find interesting is in the front end of this, you were actually resistant about saying yes to actually enroll in the program.
I was finding all the ways that, not all the ways, but probably two that I was like, no, I don't have time to do that. I don't have any time to dive into myself to learn more about myself. You don't have any time for that? That's interesting. But that was a pattern that it was all the other things were more important than figuring it out. One of the patterns I used to have was doing things halfway. So I would do something partially and then never complete it. Interesting.
So what has shifted since we've started this?
Mostly, I would say the amount of understanding I have about myself, not only my behavior, but like the understanding I have for myself in situations where I can pull back and not have a very like a big emotional response anymore to something, or like an understanding of why I may have had that response in the past, or if I have an inclination to have that kind of response, like, oh, remember, this is what it is. And now I can kind of talk myself through it or like soothe myself through it. Just the way I see myself in the world, which would be more, I have more compassion for myself. And because of that, because I have a greater understanding of how I was operating and what got me to those places of how I was operating, I can shift, like I can change at that time. It's no longer like a trigger, like, oh, remember, this is what it was. Like I have an understanding of how I got there, and that it doesn't have to be that way anymore. I guess I have more options.
You've had conversations with some of your subpersonalities in between sessions, haven't you?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's it's always funny and very enlightening. I mean, some of them are funny, some of them are emotional. But always very liberating to understand that that's the part that needs the attention.
Am I imagining though, but you appear to have a greater sense of ease?
Yeah, ease, because that's a perfect word, because I was going to say empowered. And of course I feel ease when I feel empowered, because knowing myself better definitely makes me feel like I don't have to be like seeking outside of myself to prove things.
When I heard about that, I decided to take the plunge, and I knew that I've done a couple of things with Daniel before in the past. You know, I'm part of the vault, and I knew that there were things that I just really couldn't get to. Like there are some things that I still, at least at the time, didn't realize that were there. And then I heard about the subpersonalities on the Aligned Self podcast, and I said, that sounds interesting. Maybe I have a couple of those. And so I, again, took the plunge. I met with Daniel, and, you know, we had a bit of a Zoom call meeting, and I've done a couple of Zoom calls with him. And during this entire session, it's been definitely eye-opening. A lot of things that I really didn't know about myself, it really came to light. And we sort of went back in time through different times in my life where these subpersonalities were essentially born. And it might sound a bit daunting at first to think, oh, we're going to go deep into your mind, and it's not that bad. I realized there were things that I was almost hiding from myself, and things that I thought, oh, this is just normal behavior, right? You know, and then I realized that, well, actually, it's not, and it's almost a coping mechanism. And I ended up finding a couple of personalities. And once we find that out, I think the best part of this course is that we were able to take those personalities, those things that were preventing you from going forward, and we kind of took that all together and integrated it into one centralized aspect of myself, because all these personalities were doing their own things. They were clashing with each other. They were not working in harmony. And so what Daniel did was he was able to kind of bring this all together, and I can find peace in all of these different types of subpersonalities that I've created since I was 5 years old, to this day. And I'm able to accept that they're there and I created them, but they don't impact who I am as a person and who I am going forward in life. And I think it was a pretty big experience for me and a big transformation. What this course does is it allows you to dive into parts of your life that you didn't think were issues, or you didn't think were preventing you from doing whatever you want to do in life, being successful or whatnot. So I would recommend this course to anybody who feels like they're stuck, anybody who feels like they just can't get past something that has been stopping them, and something that just keeps reoccurring, because there could be a couple of things that you need to work on personally, and Daniel will help you go through it. And I think he's a great coach, and you definitely should check him out.
But your level of self-awareness and self-inquiry, I love where you're at, because it only gets deeper and better after this.
Yeah, this goes to my very first thing I wrote down, which was grateful I took the leap. It's just how I feel. I'm like, this is well worth the investment that was in there. I mean, it was looking back on it, going, wow, this is a deal. This is a steal. I mean, at first I was a little like, and that's what I was trying to tell my sister. I was like, listen, yeah, it is a decent investment, but now I'm looking back on it, going, man, that's just a couple bucks for a different view of life, I mean, it's well worth it. Like if you said, hey, if you could spend this amount of money and feel this way afterward, like, you know, people spend $80,000 on a brand new car for a feeling, and then that's not what they're looking for.
Right.
You know, this is a heck of a lot less than that. At least for this particular, you know, this particular occurrence, you know, because of the case study. But like, wow, it's a deal. I feel like it's just like
So so
I
at
feel
this
like I
point,
tend to, you know,
I was just going to say, at this point, you can probably see, even at $2,500, that it impacts so many different areas of your life that it's worth it.
yeah, I mean, I look at the investment here, and my return is here. You know, I mean, I'm getting more because I mean, if it affects how you feel every day, you're gonna, wherever that money is, you're gonna feel good about it. I feel good about it. I'm like, I feel good about the money spent. Like, I feel good about it. Like, it's no regret. There's no remorse, no buyer's remorse, whatever you want to call it. I'm like, man, this is well worth it.